episode 173.
Work-life balance, how to have it all or not.
This Week in Weddings is a support group for wedding industry entrepreneurs.
We're the ones behind the scenes, planning and designing the event, arranging the flowers, creating the invitations, or taking the photographs for a couple's most important day ever. No pressure.
If you've been in the wedding industry for more than a minute, you know it's not all cake and confetti. Running a wedding business is hard, and it's certainly not for the faint of heart.
This Week in Weddings is where we catch up on this often crazy but amazing industry and share tips on how to be a better business owner, all while supporting each other along the way.
You're listening to This Week in Weddings with Kimberly Rhodes and Annie Roach.
Hi guys, I'm Kimberly Rhodes, owner of Hitched Events.
And I'm Annie Roach, owner of 5x7 Designs.
Just a quick disclaimer before we jump into this episode. This is one that has been in our backlog for quite some time, pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID, when we were young and naive and rich back in the day.
Back in the day. But, you know, this episode, I think, works anytime. It is one of those, everyone needs to hear it all the time. It is work-life balance, and here we are.
It's timeless.
It is timeless. So that just that little disclaimer. But before we jump into the episode, in case you haven't heard, we are launching a course.
Yeah, if you haven't checked out our cute little mugs on Instagram Live or seen our post, we're launching something. We're doing a side hustle to our side hustle.
There you go. If you have ever thought about launching a podcast, it is a course for you. It's called So You Want to Start a Podcast. It is honestly like all of our detailed information of how we get a podcast out into the world week after week. We are sharing it with you. And if you've been thinking about it, now's the time to do it.
And this is the last week to snag it at the pre-launch price, which is $50 off, which is a great deal. So last week we go to full price August 5th. So act now.
Act now. If you pre-buy it before it goes live, $50 off. It is a big savings. But you don't miss any content just because we're giving you money off.
And you guys know Kimberly and her emails. I mean, they're very lengthy and wordy. This has a lot of information, so you're not going to miss out on anything. I promise.
That is true.
And if you do, email us and we'll help. But you're not gonna even need any help because it's gonna have so much information.
Yeah,
you have all the information.
I've heard of other podcast courses that are like, here are the 55 steps. And that's it.
They don't really tell it, they might tell you a step, but how the heck do I do that step?
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I think makes us different is we're not just telling you, record your podcast. We're literally walking you through this is the equipment that we use. This is the software that we use. Here are some tips that you need to know, all of the things. So you can find that course at thisweekinweddings.com/courses, $50 off through August 5th. Don't delay.
Act now.
Sign up today. But let's jump into the episode.
Welcome back to the podcast. We are talking about work-life balance, of which I have none.
Dun, dun, dun.
That's not true. Actually, this weekend I did nothing related to work at all, which was amazing.
You're supposed to not do work on the weekends if you don't have an event.
I don't always not work on the weekends, though, if I don't have an event.
Yeah.
I think I say most planners. That's not true. I know there are planners who completely shut it off at 5:00.
Yeah. And there's planners. I even know planners that don't even have their email on their phones.
It's true. Our good friend Sarah Bollicky. She is a rare breed, though. Let's be honest about that.
I kind of want to bow down to her and be like, we're not worthy, waiting guard style. Teach me your ways.
I know. She is the queen of balance. I am a fan of hers for that. And she is trying to teach me to be better.
I'm just envious of people that get shit done, but they also have balance. I do kind of see these people that they're all I have balance. I'm always in Malaysia and stuff like that. But I'm but are you really?
But you don't answer my emails. Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. You're really getting shit done? No. Or do you really have stuff to do? No. Especially this whole Instagram influencer things. I'm what's your real job? Your real job is to go to Malaysia and do that stuff. But then you don't really have, you're not sitting at a corporate job in front of a computer. You're just there to look cute, So I think we get kind of caught up in that whole Instagram lifestyle, which we are not part of.
It's a true statement. Well, I feel like Joann Gregoli is going to set us straight because she is one like me who had zero balance and it like affected her personal life. And I think she's going to tell us a little bit about that. I've known Joann forever, by the way.
Good. Yeah. No, I'm very envious because she is legit. She does get things done, but it looks like she has managed to find that balance. It looks like it's taken her a while to find it, which I love that honesty.
Joann Gregoli is the owner of Elegant Occasions by Joann Gregoli, a global event planning and production company. She is the author of The Knots Guide to Destination Weddings and has planned weddings for many high-profile clients and celebrities around the world. She has appeared on Good Morning America, Today Show, and CBS Morning Show. She was named as Modern Bride's top destination wedding planner.
Besides running a successful business, she is a single mother to 6 children. She has referred to her life many times as living in controlled chaos, which makes her life very interesting to say the least.
Let's welcome to the show, Joann Gregoli.
Welcome to the show, Joann. We're so happy to have you here.
Yay.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here.
Okay, Joann, I feel like I've known you since I was a little wee baby planner back in the day.
Planner.
It's true. We met, I think, back in like 2011, if I'm not mistaken.
So long ago. Just kidding.
It's been a while. It's been a
It's a
while.
long time ago.
Yeah, especially in business years. It's kind of like business years is like dog years, maybe like times 10 or something, you know?
Exactly. Well, my work anniversary just came up. I didn't realize how long I've been doing this crazy business. And I just posted on LinkedIn, and I've been doing this for 32 years.
Oh, my.
Which is really scary. Like, it's super scary. I didn't first
actually
it doesn't feel
very impressive.
First
Joann.
off, golf clubs to that. And second off,
Yeah.
I need to know what eye cream you are using because you look amazing.
Oh. It's funny. When I started this business many, many years ago, I come from a corporate background. I was a corporate event planner. So when it's going to sound really weird and very sexist. It is. It's going to sound terrible, but I always wanted to be a mother. So I wanted to get married, have babies, and that was it. That was my goal in life. And that sounds really bad. I mean, it sounds super bad.
I actually don't think it sounds
No.
bad.
And it was my thing. And I was told I couldn't have children, and that's a whole nother story. And I always said to my husband at the time, listen, I just really want to stay home and have babies. But I was working corporately. I was doing corporate events. So I was a corporate event planner, planning these huge events all over the world. That was my job. And then I really wanted to have children. I'm like, listen, I need to kind of pull back from this travel schedule and really sit down and, really hone in on being a mother, because I knew that opportunity was going to pass me by, right? Being a mom, you only have a certain window of time for us to become pregnant. And I found it difficult to become pregnant. Long story short, I did get pregnant with the help of doctors, and they said, you're not going to have children. And if you know my true story, I now have 6. So that doctor was way wrong. What the heck he was talking about. 6 children later, it's like we proved him wrong. My husband's like, well, what can you do from the home? Like, what you need to help support this home, income. And I really didn't want to give my children off to sitters and nannies. And I didn't want that either. So I was like, oh, I could plan events. And this is going back, 32 years ago. We found this book about, planning weddings. It was a new field, nothing that really people were doing at the time because it was more corporate. And he knew I was obsessed with weddings because we'd go on vacation and this is the true story. I would attend every single wedding on the beach that existed. Like, there's a 2 o'clock wedding, 3 o'clock, and 4 o'clock. He goes, Joann, you don't even know these people. I don't care. I'm just so in love with love. And he thought I was completely insane, as did my children, because I'd run. I'm like, oh,
it's okay. I'll buy them a toaster and send it to them. It's fine.
So I would go to all these crazy ass weddings all around the Caribbean on vacation. And so I opened up the business. And this is a true story. I had no business plan. I was like, oh, okay. I'm just this local Jersey girl, and I'm going to plan weddings. Who's going to buy this? And every door was shut in my face because at the time, wedding planners were not a thing. They were
Right.
Even anything. People didn't want to talk to us. People didn't want to. They really didn't know what we did. Door after door, shut. I'm like, okay, well, this is not going to work out well. But I still persevered. I'm like, okay, I could do this. Then I just like, you know what? I'm going to head to the big city in New York because I think that's probably where this market can happen. And then what happened was somebody, this is really strange, but, in my church was like, hey, we need some help I'm an event planner and I'm doing a wedding. I don't know how to do weddings. Would you come and do this wedding with me and for me? And it was the biggest wedding of my career. It was Rupert Murdoch's daughter's wedding. I'm
Oh
like,
my
you have
gosh.
to be kidding me. He goes, no, we're going to fly you to Beverly Hills. You're in charge. This is your wedding. I don't do this. That was my first big break.
Get out of
Just
town.
like a little shabby little wedding there.
Right. Well, we had President Reagan there, President Bush there. It was bizarre. Like, to me, it was an out-of-body experience. So here's this little Jersey girl with, at the time, I only had 2 children. And here I went across the country, and I had a rule, though, that I had to bring one child with me at all times because I had to kiss one of them goodnight. That was my rule. So I said, listen, I'll come to this destination, but I need to bring a nanny and my child. And they were fine with that. And that was my way of staying connected with the children. So I didn't want them to ever feel that I've, shoved them off to someone who didn't care.
Okay, so Joann, we're talking about work-life balance, but I have to give you credit from the start because I don't think a lot of people would even think to do that or like think that that was an option for them.
Well, my priorities are very different because it took me so long to have children. It didn't come easy, right? So I knew that every moment spent to them was a gift, right? It was truly a gift. So I literally had to put them first. Even though I needed to make money, I still had to put my children first because it was in my head that they would feel neglected by me. But that goes back to my childhood. So that's a whole different world,
It's a whole nother podcast.
Whole therapy session.
Yeah, it's a whole different therapy session. So I felt as if I really had to kind of lay the law down early on that the children of my family were my priority. And that's really kind of how I started, that balance part. It was a challenge, but, we did it.
So back then, when you first got your big first break, if you will, you had 2 kids, and then now you have 6 kids. Kind of take us through kind of that journey with the children and your business, because obviously your business is growing as your family is growing too, I assume.
It was. I mean, I think I nursed children for 10 years because I also
That's a long
did
time.
a lot of nursing. I nursed children for 10 years, and I never I was told I couldn't have babies, right? So I was like, oh, I can't get pregnant. I kept getting pregnant every 2 years. But you'd think, it's like, okay, wait a second. I'm not supposed to be having children until I'm not supposed to be getting pregnant. But I did. And and the weddings were getting bigger and I was getting bigger. And what happened was it morphed into destination. So it wasn't even local anymore. I wasn't even working locally. I was working all around the world because I come from a travel background. My mother was a travel agent. So my natural progression in life was travel, right? So when Beverly Hills called, I'm like, oh, I could do this. Mm-hmm. And then from there it was Aspen, and then it was, Banff. And I'm like, I could do, and I knew, how to do travel because that's what I grew up with a mother who was a travel agent who traveled all the time and left us. And that's where that feeling came where I don't want that to be my children. Right. Because I had a lot of negativity towards that. Right. So there's the inner side of my head saying, okay, listen, I want to be a working mom, but I am not going to let my children down, that I'm never there for anything. And that's how that all happened. Right. That's where that work life thing. So basically the children kept coming, the weddings kept coming, kept getting bigger, and my world just kind of blew up. And what happened was the weddings were getting so much larger and taking over so much more of my life. But the children were still an important part of my life that I then hired at that point. When after number 4, I had to get au pairs to come in and live with us. I had to have au pairs because I couldn't do it anymore. I mentally couldn't do it anymore. And I needed that support system internally in the house. Because there were times where, true story, I was nursing and I wouldn't stop nursing these kids that I actually, one time, I don't know if I told you the story, I actually literally had to take, we were doing a wedding in the Bahamas. We were at a Sandals property. Children are not allowed. And it was a television produced wedding. So I had to stay at Sandals, but the baby couldn't stay at Sandals. So they had the baby next door.
Why'd you just sneak in the baby? Just kidding.
In a duffel bag. I did.
Are you kidding me?
I am not kidding you. We would put the baby in a duffel bag over the fence and bring it at night. This is a true story.
Oh.
This is a true story. And then sneak it out in the morning, right? That's what we did. And I'm
baby contraband.
right, a baby contraband. I'm going to get arrested for if somebody catches me. I'm going to get thrown into jail.
Hopefully the statute of limitations has expired in the Bahamas.
But it was funny because the last day of shooting, the wedding was over. It was the last day of production, and there were all these people out, and the baby was snuck in that night. So the baby's inside, and we have to get the baby out. And there's all these people in front of our cottage. And I'm like, oh my God, we're busted. But what it was Boys to Men was staying in our cottage. I didn't know that. So all of the staff was waiting for, signatures from Boys to Men. So no one ever left our cottage. So I'm like, okay, well, I can now sneak the baby out easily because these people are so in tune with Boys to Men. But then the baby became the focal point. They're like, oh my God, a baby. We love babies. I'm like, oh. They didn't even care. Like I should have didn't have to put the baby in a duffel bag every night.
That is amazing.
So basically the business just grew, as well as my family. And I was not about to stop that growth because children to me were the most important gift that I could have. And so I just worked, had babies, loved my children, and, just kind of raised a family. So it was definitely, my life is the best way to describe it, was controlled chaos.
Yeah.
It was just chaos all the time.
Tell us a little bit about when it got out of control. Because I assume at some point there was I can't just continue the chaos.
Yeah. I mean, something's got to give, right? When you put your priorities into the business and you put your time into the business, because you have to, and you have demanding clients and you have children and you have a husband, something breaks. And it was the marriage that broke. So there was a cost. There was a price to pay, the ultimate price. And because I couldn't devote all my time simultaneously to everybody and everything. So that element was a true, complete collapse and breakdown, which caught me off guard because I was so involved with the kids and the business. I didn't see the other side of this. I didn't see. And when that collapsed, it was just, everything collapsed at that point in my life. Like me personally, financially, emotionally, physically, because when one thing goes, and it's like a house of cards, you take the foundation away, everything crumbles. And then you just have to figure out, well, am I going to survive this or am I not? And I have a saying on my desk that failure is not an option. And for the sake of my children, I had to make this work because I became the sole provider for these kids. I learned very early on when my husband filed for divorce that it was me, because he relinquished control and financial responsibility. So it's like, I'm on my own. And you can't tell a kid, sorry, I can't feed you. Sorry, can't do that. You have to say, I'm going to buck it up. I am going to prove the naysayers wrong, that I'm going to come back stronger. But you had to be broken down to be built up is what happened ultimately.
Yeah. So Joann, tell us, when this happened, how old were your kids, the 6 kids? And I'm also curious, I think I know the answer just from knowing you, but was this a complete shock? Or were you yeah, I'm so busy, we're disconnected?
Yeah, it was more that. It was so busy, you were disconnected. Come on.
Yeah.
We do what we do for a business. But at the time, the children, I think, were 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. They were older.
That is, but that's also
impressionable years.
Yeah.
These are middle or elementary all the way up to high school. That's a big developmental years.
It is. And they understood. Little kids don't understand. That whole age group understands. And then there are sides that were taken, right? They take sides. It's only natural. Then you're battling that too, right? You're battling that as well. And you're trying to be everything to everybody. It's so hard. I look back now and I'm like, I don't even know how I came out of it.
Yeah, how did I survive? But
you do because you have to. And you come out, you come out wiser. And you come out with a lot more strength than you think you have. I really believe women are pretty strong individuals. Come on, we give birth. I gave birth 6 times. I don't think a man could do it once. We're really strong. And when we're pushed to the limit, it's funny. I just saw a Broadway show about Tina Turner and her life. And if you don't know the story, you should really see it, how this woman was broken down by the man that beat her down. physically and mentally, and how she came back. It's such an inspirational story. And that's kind of the way you got to live your life. You have to just say, okay, these are the knocks I'm going to take, but Lord help me, I'm going to get back up and get through this. And you do.
Yeah. Okay, so one of my questions for you, Joann, is looking back, because I feel like, I have terrible work-life balance. Like, I know this about myself, and I, readily admit it. But, looking back, are there things now that you're like, okay, if I had a partner and 6 kids, this is what I would do differently?
I would definitely put more time restrictions on people's accessibility to me. Instead of being available 24/7, I probably would say, okay, these are my hours. Okay, this to this. That's probably one major thing I would do. I would then, when I'm on vacation, I would disconnect. I would never disconnect on vacation, ever. And you have to. You really have to, for a lot of reasons. You must take that mental break, and you must make that time for yourself and your spouse. You have to make that time. The time is not going to be created by yourself. You have to do it. And I think I lost sight of that. It'll just happen. It doesn't just happen. It just happen. You have to make it happen. You, as a planner, and that's like a job hazard, you have to make everything happen anyway. So
right.
You have to make time. You have to schedule the time. I was trying so hard. I think what it was because there were 6 kids. I was trying so hard to divide up my time amongst the 6 of them that I forgot about the 7th. Right. I think that's what happened. I think to me, it was an overload of trying to be all to them and to prove to them as a working mother that I wasn't neglecting them, that I neglected the other person.
And then, Joann, did you have a team at this time? Were you able to delegate tasks, or was it just mainly you?
No, I had a team, but the problem is my name's on the business, as any of us know. The minute your name is on something, you become the face.
Yeah, you get to show up.
You have to show up. So that's the problem. And it's really hard to get over that. I don't know how people get past it. You have to have a big enough team that you can trust, but ultimately they still want to see you. So I think the demands, what do they say? We have the most stressful job behind police officers and,
air traffic controllers.
Well, that's just great. That's just great.
Yeah.
So if you look at the level of intensity of our job, it only goes to show that something's got to break. And it's funny, if we ever did a poll of planners, how many were married and divorced, I wonder what the divorce rate would be. I bet it'd be pretty high. Because I know the divorce rate amongst police officers are extremely high. And I bet it'd be pretty high amongst planners. Because if you talk to many of us, a lot of us are divorced.
Interesting.
I think maybe it's a job hazard. Bad.
It is a very stressful job. I think people, even other vendors, I think don't fully appreciate the level of stress that a planner takes on for every single event.
I think it's also the stress that you guys have, and also it's just that you it's the timing. You guys are doing events, you are gone basically prime time when usually relationships are developing and being maintained, weekends, date nights, stuff
that's the problem.
That's the main thing is, yes, you might have a high, my job is stressful, but at least I get to hang out on Saturday night with my husband, and maybe regroup and, I might have been bitchy this weekend, but at least this week I might be able to regroup on Saturday night, but you guys are working during those prime hours.
We are. And that's probably the biggest problem. I think the biggest problem is if you're not with someone who's in the industry who understands those hours, it's not going to work.
Well, don't say that, Joann.
Or it's going to be difficult. Or it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, or just someone that if you don't go into it with that communication and understanding with each other and that mutual understanding that you're not going to be here during those prime times, it's definitely not going to work.
Yeah.
Well, and I would say it's the same with anyone who's on site, like photographers, videographers who are gone all day, don't have their Saturday nights to themselves or with their spouse.
Sure.
I just think the stress for me, and I handle stress very well in general, but for me, it's it's not just the planning. It's the family dynamics. I had a wedding recently where it's family A is complaining about family B and family B is complaining about family A, but all to me. You know what I mean? There's a lot of Yeah, it's like
We're
there's
the
a lot of
therapist.
emotion. Yes,
Yeah, we become.
which is a lot.
It's a lot to hold on to, and it's a lot to process because you're trying to process your own life, and then you're trying to, and they're giving you the mess of their life. And you're like,
Right.
okay, well now I'm involved in everybody's mess. You
Well,
know?
and I
Yeah.
feel like you maybe even if they have that negativity, even though you might be a positive person and it's not your life, but they're passing on that negativity to
Yeah.
you. You know, it's like it's
Yeah.
you know through osmosis
lot.
or whatever. You're taking on that negativity, which is not good. You know that, and then maybe you might, you're not healthy, and maybe then you might, transpose that on your spouse or something. You know, like unintentionally. And you just don't know where to place that negativity sometimes.
Yeah, it is true. And I think that was the ultimate cost. You know what I mean? Like the negativity was being, because you were receiving it and then you had to have an outlet. And then you always hurt the ones you love the most, they say, right?
Yeah.
Because you figure you can go on the attack in a weird way, right?
Well, you think they're always going to be there, you know?
And then when they're not, you're like, okay, this really sucks. You know, like, because they can only take so much too. I think probably what would have helped too, and I probably am a big proponent of this, is counseling. I think that there has to be an outlet for couples when they're experiencing the stress levels of one or the other or both. I think there's got to be a way to go to a counselor and talk it out. I think that what we do is we don't take care of our mental health, we take care of our physical health, but a lot of people find a problem in the actual health of your mental. And people don't want to admit that they have a problem. Right? That I can't handle this. Everybody wants to be strong. And I think that's a huge problem. I think that you must find that time to find the mental health balance. Because I know physically, I would go and get my spa treatment after every event. I mean, physically, yeah, because I knew I physically needed it. You know, I need to go have a massage. Because my body was hurting. But mentally is probably what I was lacking. I didn't really take on that as strongly as I should have. And it's a high price to pay because when something like that does fall apart, it affects you, but it affects the children even more. And, we're still picking up the pieces for the children, many years later. There's fallout.
Joann, I just appreciate you being so open and honest about it. It's interesting. One of our most popular, the most popular episode that we have, the most downloaded one, is about divorce and maintaining your business after divorce. I think it's so interesting that people have resonated with that one. I've had so many people who said, even though I'm in a healthy, happy relationship, there's so much about just dealing with that devastation that people can relate to. And I just appreciate you just being so open about all the things.
You sometimes I think you go through things to help other people on the other side. I do. I think that whatever we're given, we must use it as a platform to be able to pull somebody else over that wall. There are many people industry-wide that pulled me over the wall, when I couldn't climb anymore. So I think you have to be that. I think we should all take it upon ourselves to, find whatever it is that's lacking and help, and if it is my situation as a working mom, as a divorcee, or a single mother, whatever it is, many, many times I've sat with girls who are broken down to tears, over, being a working mom and trying to figure it out. It's probably the toughest job in the world. And then being divorced on top of it just kind of compounds it even more.
It's hard. I always say, Joann, I only have one kid, so I don't even know if I have a leg to stand on. But it's, I say I can never be 100% good wife, 100% good mom, and 100% good business owner. It sometimes might be 50, 40, 10. It might sometimes be 70, 60, 50. It's never going to be 100, 100, 100. And sometimes that scale will get too low and I've got to regroup and bring that percentage up because, if when one of them crumbles, basically all three will crumble.
Exactly. It's like if you're juggling balls and you drop one, they all will fall. That's my analogy to my family all the time. I felt as if I had 100 balls in the air. And then when one started falling and then they all fell, it was, picking them back up was tough. But, you just have to make, you have to make your life your priority. I think that's the other problem. We don't make ourselves a priority ever. We don't. We're always taking care of our clients.
You're planning the lives of other people. You're planning other people's lives.
And who's planning yours? Nobody. You know, I mean, it's so true. I mean, how many birthdays have I missed? Because I forgot. Like, oh shit. Now, yes, there are 6, and it's tough to know all 6. I mean, when someone says to me on the phone, Joann, can you give me the birthdays of your children? I'm like, that may take a little time.
Like, I know their names. I've got that going for me today.
I can give you the names. Other than that, I'm not so sure. Because I think sometimes that we overschedule ourselves, that we forget about ourselves. You know, you have to fix you first before you could fix anything else. And it took me a long time to come to terms with that, those words. You know, fix me before I can do me, and fix me before I can help you. It's hard. It's hard. But I think now I've reached a point in my life where it's like, you know what? It's time for me. And I can, because if I'm broken, how am I going to be able to help somebody else? You know,
right. It's like they say with the oxygen mask, put the oxygen mask on first and then help others, which I remember thinking that, I'm like, God, that's so selfish. I remember thinking that, like, as growing up, like, why would a mom ever do that first and then help their child? And then I became a mother, and I realized I've got to help myself, got to put that oxygen on before I can help anybody else. But it takes a while to figure that out.
It does, because it's not, first of all, it's not something we're trained. You know, most women are trying to be caregivers. That's what we're trained to do, because we see our mothers do it, right? So we come from a generation where they're always taking care of the family. Well, you didn't see your mothers take care of themselves. I mean, I don't remember my mother ever going to get her nails done or whatever. I go for that all the time. Like, okay, now wait a minute. You know what I mean? Like, I'm learning that there's a new balance here, you know, a new balance. It's funny. The next generation has it figured out better. I think they do. My children are the next generation, and I see how they are. And I think that they learn from my mistakes. I learned from my parents' mistakes. I think that's the generational thing. We all learn from the generations prior, right? Nobody wants to repeat what happened in the past, right? Everybody wants to improve. Yeah. And I think that's what happens. But I learn a lot from my own kids now, you know, who are like, okay, Mom, listen, we're going to go for spa day. We're going to do, I do that anyway, but they push it on me even more. You know, when I have my downtime, it would be truly my downtime. So I think as a working mother, you must take care of me. And I mean, you must. If you don't, everything else just is, you're going to become overwhelmed. You're going to become overworked, and you'll hit that. When I was talking to somebody yesterday, hit the wall. I've hit the wall a few times in my lifetime where I hit that wall. And I remember one particular time, I think I had, I go back by the kid count. I think I had 5 kids, and we were working like crazy, and I couldn't do it anymore. Like, I literally was having a breakdown, and I knew it, and I could feel it. And now this is how weird I am. I'm like, I got to get away. And this is where I failed miserably. I didn't take my husband. I took the kids away. Mm-hmm. And I left him behind. And then that was bad. And I'll admit it. But I wanted time with them. And then what happens is when I got back, that's when everything started to fall apart. You know, that's when, because he saw where my priority was. It was them, not him. And it was hard. But I found my joy. But now that the kids are older, as a mother, you realize that they're not living for you. You're living for them. They're not living for you.
Yeah.
They're not. They have their own lives. They have, their own children now, some of them. And you're like, oh, what a mistake that was. And if I only knew then what I know now, I wouldn't make that same mistake.
Well, and Joann, I don't have kids, as you know, but I feel like your equivalent of living for your kids is me living for my business.
Yeah, okay.
In that, like, my business is my child, and I'm obsessed with it.
There you go.
Which is not great.
No, it's the same thing.
It is the same. Like, my husband and I, we always joke about how, like, I remember before kids, like, we would always be like, people that had kids always talked about their kids. We always would make fun of them. But we kind of come to the realization is like, if you're investing so much time a day into this one thing, which was our kid, Bryn, our kid, but it's like a business. Like, if you're spending so much time investing in it, a day, you're going to become obsessed with it, and you are going to only talk about that, and you are going to, it's going to become your life, whether it is a child, a business, a dog, whatever.
Anything.
That's your obsession,
That's right. That's right. That 100%. I mean, whatever you focus on is your obsession, but you also have to remember that you have to think of you, right? So a lot of us in this business are A-type personalities. I'd say 99.9 of us are. Okay.
Right.
I'm very curious to know, like, what's the birth order of most of us? Like, where are you in the birth order? I know I'm the firstborn of 4.
I'm the firstborn as well.
There you go.
See, I'm second of 2.
Okay.
But I think if you knew me and my sister, you would think that I was
The first.
firstborn.
But there's something to be said for that. Okay, there's something to be said for the birth order of people and the way we are, why we are who we are, and why we do what we do, because it's just something that's kind of inbred in us, right? But still, what gets lost in this sauce is that when you are the caregiver, that's usually the firstborn, okay, the caregiver, because there's siblings below you, you're the one responsible for them, right? Now you're responsible for your business. Now you're responsible for your clients. Now you're responsible for family. Now you're and then again, who's taking care of you? Nobody. No one's watching out for your back. Maybe your husband, hopefully, if you have a spouse. Maybe not, but then again, I can't accept complete blame for the failure of my marriage, because he wasn't taking care of me either. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it's a mutual, yeah.
Like, he didn't also the red flags, and I could say to him, like, wait, I warned you, like, hey, something's wrong here. I'm having a breakdown. Something's wrong. I mean, and instead of, it was always like, don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. And it wasn't fine. And that's where I think the mental counseling, having somebody come in and be a professional, therapist is needed. And maybe that is what, I would advise people to add to their daily or monthly regiment. You go for your spa, you can maybe get your haircut, color, whatever you're doing, and maybe add in a therapy session to help you navigate, the intricacies of this crazy business. Because it's crazy.
Yeah.
From both of us that do it, we're a little nuts.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
We are.
It's true.
I mean, but we're also passionate. I am still so passionate about this business. It's crazy. But the best, I just had a bride. She just did this video for me, and she called me her mama planner. She goes, "You're like my mother." I mean, that's the best compliment somebody could give me, but I am a mother. That's the role I take when I plan a wedding for these people. They become a child to me.
You are very motherly just in general, though, Joann. Like, to everybody. I think anyone who's in the industry who knows you would be like, she's just motherly.
And it's something I can't stop. I can't.
I mean that in like the most positive way.
I know you do. I know you do. I know, but it's funny. If that's what I'm known for, I'll take it. You know what I mean? I'll take it. With my flaws, with the good, the bad, the ugly. But I think I happen to have that person. My own clients say, you're so nurturing that when you walk into a room, calm prevails. And I think that's what makes me good at my job. Right? Yeah. That's what makes you good at your job. There's something that makes all of us good at our jobs. We all do the same thing, but it's how we do it that differs, right? How do you communicate with your people and what's the relationship? But mine is very motherly. And when the bride said it on the video, I just couldn't stop laughing. I'm like, okay, that makes a whole lot of sense.
No, there are worse things to be called than nurturing or maternal. I feel like.
I mean it as the biggest compliment.
I know you do. And I accept it, and I am grateful for that comment. I truly am.
Now, Joann, looking back, you kind of were talking about maybe like ways that you would have, maybe if you could have gone back, you would have set business hours. If you went on vacation, you would, maybe relax more and turn off the business side when you went on vacation. Is there any other things that you maybe are doing now that you feel is making your life better and more balanced?
Yeah, I now when I go out, if I'm out for dinner, I don't talk business anymore, like with my family. I mean, like, and I don't, like, before it was like obsession, business. I just don't even talk about it when I'm literally like I'm out to dinner. I don't talk about my clients. I used to do it all the time. Talk about every client, what was pending, what was happening. Now I don't. It's like, I'm going to go out. I am not going to look at my phone. I am actually going to enjoy myself and disconnect that way. That's really important. I wasn't doing that before. Again, I was obsessed. Just like you are, Kimberly, you're obsessed.
Yeah.
There's a point where I say now, I'm not going to look at my phone. It's okay. It's going to be okay. They can wait, a few hours or the next day. So I do that now when I'm out to dinner, and I do now plan more scheduled, like family time, you know what I mean? Like trips and stuff and me time. I actually put it on my calendar. I block out time. I didn't do that before. So now I have a block of time where this is my time. But I never ever did that. Never. And now I take at least one day in the middle of the week off, kind of my, time to like my hump day is like my day where I don't work. And I try not to, just because I need that midweek, because we work on weekends, right? So usually I'll take a Monday off, right? Always following an event, always. And now I take a wet day, and that's my day to kind of go and, walk, hike, just do something, just do something. And I'm trying now to and maybe it's because I'm older, to get involved in dancing and, doing things I've never done before. I've become a lot more risky, my kids say. I do. I've done crazy shit lately. I'm going to go whitewater rafting. What? I'm going to go zip lining. What has happened to you? I'm in Dubai. I'm going to,
so I've confiscated a baby. I can go whitewater rafting if I, that's easy peasy.
That's it, right?
Compared to some of the stuff I've done.
So I think I've done more extreme things now, just to challenge myself more. I think you should. I think you should come out of your comfort zone. I've learned that, and do things that you would never do before. I think that just kind of rounds you out. And I think it kind of just gives you a little more excitement, because I've become complacent. That's the other thing.
Yeah. I feel like I kind of got into that, Joann, is where I would always do things I felt like I was good at. I would never really try things that I thought I would be bad at. And that's just my personality. I always want to be the first place winner. I always want to be, doing good. And I feel like I've been trying to do things that I just think I'm going to be mediocre at, which is fine. But I got to learn how to be mediocre.
You do, even if you like I really suck at golf, but I love driving balls, driving golf balls. And I'm really bad at it, but I love it. I love it because I think it's also a release. You know what I mean? It's a release of
sure.
And I play golf. I'm really sucky, but it's so much fun because I'm not doing it for the sport. I'm not doing it for the win.
Yeah, you're not going to be on the PGA tour.
You're not at all.
Fun.
Right, exactly. And I think that's what you have to do. I think you have to find things that are just fun and make you laugh. Like the other night we were in New York and we were at a party and they were doing karaoke, and I suck at singing, but I had so much fun. I didn't care if I could carry a key, and I'm with band people, people that sing in bands, right? Who can really carry a tune, but I didn't care. And it was fun. So I think you just have to have fun. I think that is something that I lost sight of, truly lost sight of it. I just was living for the job and living for the kids now it's I just want to have fun and add fun to you must add fun to your everyday life. You must take the risk, take the chance, just have fun. I think that's what people don't do anymore. I think we're so serious,
Well, I also think we're very, at least I can speak for myself, very overscheduled.
Yeah.
In that, I have started to say no to more things than I say yes to, which did not used to be my MO. If I was invited to something,
asked Kimberly something, and she just told me no. So she's.
I did?
No. Just an industry thing. But no, you.
Oh, that's true. I did. I was like, nope. I'm not going to go to that. That's true. But I used to feel more obligated to, and I don't know if it was just I didn't want to disappoint people or feel like I was missing out or whatever. But because of that, being completely overscheduled.
Well, you're almost you're hurting people's feelings by saying no, where you got to look at your feelings first, look at you.
Yeah, but we also have major FOMO going on. Okay, social media has caused this spike of us feeling majorly fear of missing out on everything, right? Major FOMO. So the other night we were again in New York City, and there was this huge event going on, and there was no food. And I'm to my friends, okay, we're out of here. Let's go eat. Let's go have a really good time. We didn't have to be there, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We didn't have to be there. Did you want to be there? Again, fear of missing out. Okay, we need to do this. But now it's no, let's go have dinner instead with some good friends. And then I think you need to surround yourself with like-minded people. I think you have to and I just posted this morning on Facebook, actually, don't surround you with people who don't care about you or have your back. Who's going to be there when the rubber hits the road? The people that we meet along our way, along our lives, half of them are using us, is what you learn.
Yeah.
Are they really there for us if something goes wrong, or are they not? I think you surround yourself with like-minded people is huge, huge. Because I think when you're surrounding yourself with people that understand you, they can help carry you across the line if you can't make it sometimes, and I think that's a big part of it. I think sometimes we want to be accepted by the wrong people a lot of the time, and that's not healthy. That's not healthy.
It's taken me a while, it's quality versus quantity.
Mm-hmm.
Where I would kind of obsess over the people that didn't like me, and I would try and focus my energy on that versus focusing my energy on the people that do like me.
Exactly.
That's where I should be putting my energy and focus, is my family and friends and industry people that are there for me versus people that are not going to be there for me.
Exactly. We get so caught up in that it's actually quite dangerous. And that's the problem that occurs too, because that's where we get ourselves overscheduled, right? Because we want to be there, right? We want to be there all the time. And that's what happens is that's when you don't say no, right? It's like, oh yeah, and in my life is even more complicated now because I have grandbabies. So I'm now trying to put them into my schedule too, right? So not only do I have children, I have a business, I have grandkids that I want and desperately want to see all the time, And so I, like you, they say learn to say no is really key. That's a good one. That's one that I have to execute a little more. I'm not that great at it, I'll be honest.
I mean, I'm not perfect by any means, but I've gotten a lot better over time. I used to say yes to everything. And now I honestly, what happened is I'd get to the point where I'd say yes. And then the appointment would come up on my calendar and I'd be like, God damn it, I don't want to go to this.
Right.
Why did I say yes to this in the first place? I have no desire to go to this. So now I'm like, instead of having that feeling later, why don't I just admit the feeling I have when I'm first invited and just say no?
Exactly. So that's another balance. You know what I mean? Balance is to say no. Say no. If it's not a right fit, say no. There's nothing wrong with it. And you're not going to miss out on the people that maybe didn't treat you right anyway. You know what I mean? If you're surrounded by a bunch of people that are okay, they're just acquaintances, right? Acquaintances. We have many, many, many acquaintances in this industry.
Right.
Many. Friends, that's a whole different count, right? And there's the people that, but it's funny. I've started this little group of friends who I adore, and we get together once a month, and it's just a bunch of us just really just, talking it out and talking through our struggles, and kind of maybe it's kind of our own little therapy group.
Yeah.
And maybe that too is helpful, is to do a therapy group. I'm actually starting a group of such a thing that I'm implementing, where it's going to kind of be going back to the basics, where we actually go camping, with women, and just to kind of sit and talk and have a weekend together, or 3 days where we just kind of just be ourselves, unplugged.
I love it.
Yeah, but I think that's needed too. I think that women really need to support women more too.
And I think it comes with maturity and just being in this business. I know it's one of my best friends she's very much a people pleaser. And I think I've gotten over that, yes, I used to, but I feel like I have to please everyone, where she's still kind of in that season of wanting to be everyone's friend. And it sometimes irks me, but I'm like, she will figure it out, it'll happen, but it just comes, I feel like it comes with maturity and maybe being in this business that you will just figure it out, but it might take some time.
Yeah, it doesn't happen overnight. I think, especially anyone that's new in the business, it's really hard to navigate this business. It's hard. And it's also, you want to meet people, you kind of want to learn from them. You just have to find the right people, and they will gravitate to you. You know what I mean? You'll find those people that are meant to be with you always. But you're right. It takes time, and it's seasoned, and and if you're younger, they don't get it. The older people kind of see a little more than the youngers. We see more, and that's our age. Totally our age.
We're wise.
Wise.
We're the three wise guys here.
The three wise men.
Wise beyond our years.
Oh gosh, that's funny.
That's what they say. Isn't it like it took like the wise men how many days to find him? If it was wise women, it would have been an hour and a half.
Much quicker. Much quicker. Yeah. We definitely have it figured out.
That's funny. Well, Joann, I feel like you've given us a lot of nuggets of info, things for people to be thinking about for sure. I know that you are like, to me, the grand poobah of wedding planning, just because it's been like, honestly, like we met when I was just like a baby planner, and I'm like, oh, Joann.
All I can say is just be you, authentically you. Don't try to be someone you're not. And I say that all the time to my own kids. You know what I mean? It's just be you. And it's just me being me. There's no pretenses. There's no agenda. It's just the mama speaking, right?
You're just the mama passing her baby in a duffel bag over a fence.
Over a fence. That's all I am.
Totally normal.
Totally normal.
Well, thank you for being on the podcast and sharing your life work with us, Joann.
Oh, my pleasure, ladies. My pleasure. Thank you.
I'm going to go schedule a date night with my husband.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored. I really am. I'm honored. Thank you so much.
Well, it is our pleasure.